everyone from any past generation. And in that place, it opens up space for my vision to remain strong. He prays and blesses others first. Amazing, isn't it? It's that whole concept of radical forgiveness. And I don't know if you've ever read the book or done any classes around radical forgiveness, but it's truly radical, right? It's about rewriting the story. Like, we all have a story, which is what we've built our opinion on of others, even of ourselves. But if we really dive into our story, we start to unwrap it, then we get to look at it from a different lens. And we get to forgive others. And then we get to forgive ourselves. Because sometimes it's easier to forgive others, right, than oneself. But there's a whole new perspective when you start with the practice of forgiveness in your daily spiritual work. And that's my invitation for you this week, is to just start with forgiveness. It doesn't have to be towards a certain person or situation. Just open your heart to forgive. We're so blessed that we can do that as humans. Because that's how our spiritual unfoldment continues to unfold, right? By going to that deeper place of true, honest forgiveness. Okay, second question. Do you have something in your material life right now that you're worried about? Just something in your life right now that you're worried about. Think about it. Get a vision of it. Because here's what the dynamic duo has to say about that. In Matthew, it is written, "For this reason I say to you, do not worry for your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor for your body what you will wear. Behold, is not life much more important than food, than the body, than the clothing? Observe the birds of the sky, for they do not sow, neither do they harvest nor gather into barns, and yet your Father in heaven feeds them. Are you not much more important than they? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and the righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will look after itself." Holmes says we must heal ourselves from worry. This tension is relaxed as we gain confidence in the good, in the truth, in the beauty. I have faith, I am faith, I abide in faith. All doubt, fear have left me. I am complete, confident. I do not waver nor falter in my faith, for I know that God, the living Spirit, is the only presence there can ever be. Can we read that together? Because it's so powerful, isn't it? I'll move out of the way. Have faith, I am faith, I abide in faith. All doubt and fear have left me. I have complete confidence. I do not waver or falter in my faith, for I know that God, the living Spirit, is the only presence there is or ever can be. How's that for a statement of truth? It's our truth, right? I once heard someone say that line of, "Oh, ye of little faith," really truly means in today's world, "Oh, you knucklehead, you." The second part of this question is, how do we manifest that which we were worried about and we're no longer worried about? How do we manifest it? Ask, and it shall be given to you. You shall find it. Knock, it shall be open. The door is always opened. And Holmes has so much wisdom about this, but it all kind of boils down to that idea of ask believing. Ask ask believing. Because if we don't ask believing, then how can we receive it? If we're not asking if we're not asking, knowing that not only do I believe it's my truth, but I deserve it, right? I just deserve it, just because. That's it. It's just because. When we ask believing that we are good enough, we do that. Spirit rushes in. Rushes in. Holmes was definite. He was definite about manifesting. He didn't mess around with it. He really didn't. He was all about being clear and specific, but opening up for more grandeur than what you can imagine. Being clear, specific, grateful, and knowing. Knowing. Tracy Gross wrote a book called The Last Word of Power. She's written a couple of books that are just so awesome. And she talks about setting impossible goals. I love the idea of setting an awesome goal. Like one of those goals that's so far out there that when it shows up, I'm just going to drop to my knees and be full of blessings. Imagine that. Something so awesome out there, you couldn't even begin to wrap your head around how it could happen. What if we believed that? What if we proved that to the world and to ourselves? Because God knows nothing small. I'm sure most of you have heard this, but this poor man was walking in the forest, and he asked God, God, what is 1,000,000 years to you? And he heard this voice, and God said, my son, 1,000,000 years to you is like a second to me. He walked a little bit further, and he said, God, what is $1,000,000 to you? And God said, my son, $1,000,000 to you is less than a penny to me. The man said, well, God, can I have $1,000,000? And God said, give me a sec. Now, I don't believe that story because I don't think God would say, give me a sec. If the guy really believed, right? If you really believed, you wouldn't have to wait a sec. It could just happen. So we're going to move on to the third question. Have you ever come up against something so large that you thought to yourself, this is going to take a miracle to resolve? Like, there is no way out of this. I can't think of a way. I don't have anybody I could talk to about it. How do we become our own miracle workers? That's the real question, right? If we think it's going to take a miracle, then let's just become a miracle worker. The Gospel of Thomas. When you are able to transform two into one, then you too will become son of humanity, and it will be possible for you to say to the mountain, move, and it moves. Holmes. To the soul that knows its own divinity, all else must gravitate. So what does that mean? That means you've got to turn within and know your truth. There was an article eons back in a Science of Mind magazine, and there was a gentleman that was driving Holmes around. And Holmes had caught his finger in the electric window. And he was older, and his skin was thin, and it started to bleed. And the guy Mr. Harris felt so bad about it. And Ernest was like, don't worry about it, it'll be okay. And he's just placed his hand around the finger and got quiet, and the bleeding stopped. What if you believed that you could do just that? What if you believed that I have a cold today, but I'm having no cold tomorrow? Right? What if you believed, I really believed that? My back hurts today, but that is not my real truth. It's all about being grounded in faith and remembering treatment. Spiritual mind treatment has 5 steps. It has 5. Now, yes, we can shortcut it any way we want. But I am a firm believer that there are 5 steps for a reason. First step, remember there's only one. Second step, that each of us are the same. We each have a Christ consciousness. We are each connected to it, come from it, and live in its world. Seriously. That, the Rumi quote, we are not a drop in the ocean, we are the ocean in a drop. That is our truth. That's the second step. Remembering and knowing, feeling that. And then we declare our truth from that place. Not from an, oh, I wish, or here comes a miracle, or any of that other stuff. Right? There is one, I am one with it, and this right here and right now is my truth. Which takes us to the 4th step, which is, I know it's my truth and I give thanks. Before seeing it, I believe it and I am grateful for it. And I am grateful for everything else as well. And then we let it go. We provide time and space for it to do what is its to do. It is what is doing the creation, right? My job is to know the what. Clearly, specifically, beyond a doubt, beyond question. That's what's mine to do. And it gets to do everything else. And if one can't do that for oneself because the what is too big or too important, that's why we have practitioners in this center. That's why we have people who will hold that truth, will know that truth for you. I think I've shared this before. I had a minister call me one time in the morning, scared the crap out of me. And she's like, I'm in an ambulance, I fell, I broke my hip, handle it. And she hung up. I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is mine to do now. But that is what this spiritual community is here to do, is to know your truth. So you don't have to worry about it. You can let it go. I don't have to worry about it because I've let it go. And if I can't let it go, then I let someone else do the work for me. And all I have to do is believe it. And when the worry shows up, what do? I turn that one over, right? Jeff's got it. God's got it. I'm good. I'm good, right? That's the power of prayer, and that's the power of this teaching. Science in Mind, Holmes writes, what the world needs is spiritual conviction, followed by a spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of this science prove its principles than to have him repeat all of the words of wisdom. Jesus. Thus, by their fruit, you will know them. So it's time to stop talking and time to start doing what is ours to do. To be that goodness in the neighborhood. To be that clear, spiritual, unfolded individual who's ready just to say thank you without seeing it, but just believing it. So the poem that was read this morning, that poem is actually on a wall at the Charles de Gaulle Airport. It was written in black felt, in French, of course. And over the years, as it started to fade, people have gone and filled it in with more felt. It was just put there by an anonymous author. And this week, I invite you to step into that spiritual magnificence. I invite you to be the one that be counted on, no matter what. And so it is.